This is one of the world's biggest collections of used clothing.
It essentially feels like you're in the Matrix, but it's clothing.
ThredUp, an online resale platform, has paid people to clean out their closets for over 15 years. The company sold nearly 17 million items last year, but that's just a tiny fraction of the global trade in secondhand apparel.
The average life of a garment in an American closet now is only 2.5 years.
An old pair of jeans can travel thousands of miles from its original owner, changing hands several times. But eventually, most of this stuff ends up as trash. Around the world, a garbage truck's worth of clothing is dumped or burned every second. Demand for used clothing is growing. Platforms like ThredUp hope new tech will help keep more of it in closets and out of landfills. So how does this massive warehouse work? And where does unsold clothing actually end up? Anyone can ship used clothing to ThredUp. The company started out as a peer-to-peer business like Poshmark or eBay. But in 2011, it pivoted to handle the entire selling process, from listing to shipping.
From Gap to Gucci, we really are willing to accept, process, list, and sell all of it.
Clothes arrive at the warehouse in what ThredUp calls clean-out kits.
It's about the size of a laundry bag. They basically put all of the clothing that they're not wearing anymore in that bag and send it to one of our distribution centers.
After opening up the clean-out kits, Erica Anderson's team weeds out anything dirty or ripped.
Anything that's gross, to be honest. We love to check hot spots, under the arms, crotches, all of that.
Once an item passes inspection, the labels are tagged into ThredUp's network with help from AI. Dan DeMeyer oversees this process.
There's a lot that AI can automate in terms of detecting color pigments, determining what a category is. We now even have the ability to automate measurement collection, which is something that's new for us towards the end of last year.
The company also uses an algorithm that prices items based on size, quality, and demand.
We have this learning system where this algorithm gets smarter and smarter as we scale, as we process and sell more items to get better and better at the listing price.
Next, everything gets tagged with a QR code. Then the garment takes a ride on a 100,000 square foot hanger system, which runs through the whole facility. ThredUp launched it in 2018, and it helped pull items 5 times faster. The next stop on the line is the photography department.
This is also another automated station. The item rotates and there's cameras that are mounted all around it, taking photos. So not only do we have the front, the back, and the side, but we actually have 360 photography.
Most items will spend 1 to 2 months in this warehouse before they're sold.
When you see these carousels behind me spin, what they're doing is bringing items forward that customers have purchased, so our operators can then go through the carousel and find that item with speed and ease.
Workers bring the purchased items down to pack stations and fold them up for shipping. The original owners get a cut of that sale. That can range from a few dollars to several hundred, depending on the brand.
Our top-selling brands are Lululemon, Madewell, J. Crew, Ann Taylor Loft. The higher the listing price, the higher the percentage.
ThredUp has a team of authenticators who verify luxury products from brands like Gucci, Hermes, and Givenchy. For now, it only sells used clothing for women and children.
One of the challenges with men is they buy a lot less clothing, and when they buy it, they wear it for years and years and years. But in terms of being able to sell it online, it's a little fewer and far between what items would actually be in good enough shape to resell.
In 2024, ThredUp introduced a suite of AI shopping tools, like this virtual stylist called Style Chat. If you type in retro-style prints, you'll get outfit recommendations based on what's in stock.
It's basically like a natural language back and forth conversation you can have with ThredUp about what you're looking for.
ThredUp also released an AI image search, where you can upload photos and have the AI look for similar items across the site. The company says people using this tool are 85% more likely to buy something because of the more tailored experience. It's estimated that over half of US consumers will use AI to shop online this year. But what happens to the items that ThredUp can't sell? The company told us it doesn't directly dispose of any clothing. Instead, it passes it along to aftermarket partners. That's where resellers like Stephen Bethel come in. He founded Bank & Vogue in the early 90s to buy pre-owned clothes from thrift stores and charities that couldn't sell them.
We just go around and pick up the beer cans at the end of the party. So the first thing is, we're not going to call it waste. There's no such thing as waste in this world.
He helps find international buyers for the estimated 780,000 metric tons of used clothing the US and Canada export every year.
A typical thrift operator sells about 25% of what is donated. So 75% of it, they need to find a home for.
Typically, leftovers from places like Goodwill get squished into bales and end up in places like Gujarat, India, where Stephen operates a sorting and recycling hub.
We're taking existing garments that can't be resold and we're turning them into new and relevant items. We try to find the best value in the world for the clothing.
Pakistan is one of the world's largest importers of used garments. The country has special economic zones dedicated to resorting these goods. Workers here sort 25 metric tons of used clothes every day into hundreds of categories. From tops and casual jeans to children's clothes and fitness gear, everything is sorted into its own category. Much of this is sold domestically in Pakistan, but the main job here is preparing garments for re-export.
In those sorting houses, there's a triage that happens. And then there are specific containers made based on quality, based on condition, that are then resold to relevant markets. And it's really important because there are some markets, for example, in Central America where they really like strappy dresses, but you can't sell strappy dresses in Jordan.
Repackaged bales are often sent to places with low import taxes and large secondhand markets, like Accra, Ghana. When we filmed there in 2022, it was home to one of the largest secondhand markets in Africa. Shipping containers filled with millions of garments arrived at Kantamanto market every week. And this place employed thousands of people.
You see the way I'm squeezing my face? The fire burns me.
Vendors would bid on bales sight unseen, usually paying a few $100s. Then they tried to turn a profit by selling what they found in the market. But vendors only sold about 60% of the goods that flowed through Kantamanto market. The rest ended up in dumps or washed out to sea. Liz Ricketts runs a nonprofit called the Ore Foundation, which supports people working in this market.
So what we believe is that what you're seeing is a sliver of what is actually lying on the ocean floor.
Most of the clothes we wear today are made from synthetic fibers like polyester. In the environment, they break down into microplastics, and they're extremely flammable. In January 2025, much of the Kantamanto market burned to the ground, killing 2 people and impacting the livelihoods of 10,000 workers. Most of the market has now been rebuilt. Thousands of miles away in Chile, a special free trade zone allows merchants to import tons of used clothing without paying the usual taxes and fees. The country is the largest importer of used clothing in Latin America. About 130,000 tons of it arrive here every year. But the country imports more clothing than it can handle. So much comes from the United States that here used clothing is often referred to as ropa americana, American clothing. Most of these garments are poor quality and hard to sell. So local vendors have been dumping unsold clothing in the Atacama Desert for over 20 years. It's illegal, but authorities don't have enough resources to stop it. This pile in the Atacama Desert was once so big it could be seen from space. In June 2022, it caught fire and burned for 2 weeks. In recent years, there have been some technological innovations to handle clothing waste, like textile-to-textile recycling, a process where used clothing can be transformed back into raw fibers and spun into new yarn. But collecting, sorting, and processing old clothes is complicated and difficult to scale. Today, less than 1% of old clothes are recycled into new garments. Shay Sethi founded his company Ambercycle in 2015 and developed a new chemical process for separating polyester from dyes and other fabrics and turning it into new material.
The idea for AmberCycle is really just, how do you take an old t-shirt and turn it into a new t-shirt instead of using natural resources?
In 2020, a research institute in Hong Kong started experimenting with textile-to-textile recycling. It partnered with H&M to make this machine, which turns used clothes into new ones in about 3 days. But recycling a single garment this way still requires some virgin material. In Pakistan, one family-owned company took the idea of recycling clothes to a factory scale. Artistic Fabric Mills is one of the first companies in Pakistan to repurpose old cotton into new denim. But sales of cheaply made clothes continue to outpace efforts to deal with the waste they create. ThredUp is trying to do its part as well. The company accepts fast fashion items to save them from landfills, but unlike other garments, the original owners don't get a cut of the sale.
And that is a nod to sort of not incentivizing them to keep shopping fast fashion.
The government is putting pressure on brands too. The US is closing a tax loophole that allowed brands like Shein and Temu to import ultra-cheap clothes duty-free. Countries including France have passed extended producer responsibility laws, or EPRs, which force clothing companies to fund recycling programs for the waste they create. Since it passed the law in 2008, France has seen a 3-fold increase in the collection and recycling of used textiles. But in the US, California is the only state with a textile EPR law on the books.
We are only going to get the brands to change the way in which they make clothes by legislating that there needs to be recycled content. Because we've seen over the last 30, 40 years that just letting people do what they want to do, letting companies do what they want to do, they answer to their shareholders first before they answer to the environment. And that's wrong.